Hello, welcome to Cinema Savvy. We are here today to talk about Cobra Kai Season 4. Now, this is, of course, going to be a spoiler-free discussion, so you haven't got to worry about us giving anything away. I don't think we can give anything major away just yet. We can do when it's officially released on, I believe it's the 31st, isn't it? The 31st of December?
Yeah.
This, I'm sure, for both of us is easily one of our most anticipated things of 2021. We were very lucky and very fortunate enough to get an early screener of this, hence why we're talking about it now. But yeah, this was a big one last year. Well, actually, no, was it still into 2021? I think it was on the cusp, wasn't it? Was it December into January? We covered all the Karate Kid films. We did season 1 to 3 of Cobra Kai, which was fantastic. And now we get to talk about another series of it. But before we do so, over to George with the socials.
Absolutely, guys. So, comment your thoughts on Cobra Kai. If you're watching this after the 31st, when this up, don't comment spoilers. There will be a spoiler discussion going up later this week, so we will have stuff like that for you. But don't comment any spoilers. We're not going to ruin anything. If you're approaching this review, you want to know some stuff. We're not going to give anything away. We'll talk about characters, what we think of certain arcs, storylines, but we're not going to go into specifics. So do not worry, we're not going to ruin anything for you. And of course, as I said, we want your thoughts on Cobra Kai. When you do get the chance to see it, drop us a DM on Twitter. We're happy to discuss it in that way if you are watching in the future. But until then, you do have a couple of days wait till Friday. So do hit the subscribe button because more Cobra Kai is on the way. And of course, season 5 is filming as we speak. So it's not going away anytime soon. And if you are new to the channel, obviously hit us up on our socials, Twitter at cinema_savvy, Facebook and airbox.com/cinema_savvy. And of course, we have a link to TeePublic also in that description below. And as I said, best way to find us is on there. Times when we go up, things down. It's obviously been Christmas week. We hope you had a good Christmas, but it's not been the planning left, right, and centre as normal. It's been a very chilled out week for everybody involved. So there's a couple of things coming up this week we'll speak about right at the end of the channel. But as always, talking Cobra Kai, it is weird to say on paper, on a Netflix release date, we've had 2 seasons of the show in the same calendar year. Granted, one was the 1st of January, this the 31st of December. But I don't know if that's ever been a thing before on TV. I don't know if it's a first. But really quickly, for those that are new, those that aren't at home, what are your thoughts and hype of season 1 to 3, like as a whole?
Yeah, so for me, I mean, Karate Kid, the trilogy has always been like one of my favorite film trilogies. I love my 80s films, and that is definitely sort of like head and shoulders up there as one of my favorites. And, the first season of Cobra Kai, I think it was released on YouTube Red, wasn't it? Like way back when. I never got to the series when it was first aired. With these reboots and sequels that come out sometimes, I'm always very wary of them, especially of things that I very much enjoy. And it wasn't until it hit Netflix where I decided to take the plunge and get into it. And then pretty much from the off, I was hooked. I think season 1 got watched in a matter of days, maybe a day or two. I don't even know. I think season 1 and 2 were out when I first started watching it. And then it was obviously the wait until season 3, which we had last year. But each season's been absolutely solid. I think for season 3, we were both in agreement when we did that the first few episodes, it was a bit of a slow starter. It felt a little bit meandering at the beginning, but by the time you got to like episode 4, you were in it. We were hyped. We kind of watched it together. Well, we watched it live together. I know that we sort of like messaged each other as we went through it. You were very much a newcomer, I think, and we pretty much binged it right from the off as well, didn't we? So I think it definitely has that binge-worthy power behind it. But yeah, season 4, going into it, it's always that worry of, as TV shows go on, they tend to get worse some of the time, when they drag it out. And I thought, is there story enough to drag it out to season 4? And obviously we'll get into it and discuss whether that was the fact or not. But yeah, season 1 to 3, very strong start. Just does justice to all of the characters. It introduces new characters, new setups, new relationships and dynamics. But very much, I think the showrunners know what the heart of Karate Kid is, what it means to the fans. And, there is some fan service in there, but it's just a fantastic continuation as far as I'm concerned. I'd hold it up there with, Creed 1 and Creed 2 in terms of continuing a franchise and doing it justice. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I think the background, I saw the first Karate Kid many years ago on a summer holiday. Didn't have much memory of it. Hadn't seen any of us. No Cobra Kai. Obviously, yourself, a load of my friends, massive Cobra Kai fans, tell me to watch it. But I said I've not seen anything. I need to have seen Karate Kid 1, 2, and 3. Well, we know we can say 3 given how the last season ended. And it was very much, I ended up seeing all of them except the Jaden Smith one.
Same.
Also we can definitely say Jaden Smith doesn't turn up. That's not a spoiler. I'm saying that now. But Yeah, it was sort of Christmas last year for me that it was just seemed to be like it was across like 2 days, and what's really interesting is that this year I've unintentionally started binging Succession, which I've already sort of spoke to you about before, so I'm not going to keep going about that. But yeah, it was really good fun to watch it, and I didn't expect the show to be good. I think what's fascinating is that season 3 filmed was before Netflix took over, was the deal, wasn't it? Netflix
Mhm.
bought the rights after they'd finished filming it, whereas now this is the first season, I guess we can say, that it's fully Netflix funded. This is Netflix's money, and even not talking about the plot, you can really see the production value that's increased. No crease pun intended there, but when a big firm takes over things like that, it can go wrong so easily, but it really doesn't to me. And I think that's something I was half cautious about. Is this going to go wrong? Could it go sideways? There's a lot of story they tease at the end of season 3, and season 4 had a lot to juggle, bringing
Mhm.
back famous characters, continuing stories. We've got a tournament, obviously, that we know is going to happen, and season 4 feels like the make the main act, the build up, the accumulation of everything. And really, honestly, I think it delivers on that. As my initial thoughts. I don't know if you're the same with that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The stage was set at the end of season 3, wasn't it? It had to juggle so much. Very much, I thought that season 4 would be the last, just in terms of where the story kind of teed up at the end of season 3. It feels like one final tournament that's going to decide everything. It's going to decide the fate of Cobra Kai, Miyagi-Do, everything like that. And it kind of felt final in very many ways. We're bringing out the big guns as well with a certain Terry Silver that was alluded to at the end. And then obviously we got the confirmation of that with the teaser trailer for this series. So it was setting up a lot. Now, I think since then, the showrunners have said that they want to go to season 6. I think they've got a clear end in mind and they want it to end with season 6. I know that Netflix pretty much greenlit season 5 almost from the off when this was announced or when this was coming out. They haven't announced season 6 yet, so I guess we'll see where it goes. So there's definitely more Cobra Kai to come. Let's just say that. But as initial opinion on this, it's another solid series. It really is. Now, I don't know if it's my favorite of all 4. I don't think it is, but that's not to say it's bad. I think the strengths of this series is very much in obviously the returning characters once again, some of the new faces that we see. We'll definitely be talking about Terry Silver in just a little while. He was definitely sort of like the biggest draw for me as a Cobra Kai fan, seeing him return, seeing what they were going to do with his character. And in many ways, it definitely does play with your expectations a little bit in terms of his return to the series and kind of where his character is. We haven't seen this character for 30 years, and seeing where some of these characters have ended up, it's always an absolute joy to see. And when they do bring back these older characters, actors that you might not have seen in anything since that film, perhaps, it's always great to see. But even sort of the younger cast with this, me as a Karate Kid fan, I tend to always favor the older cast, and they're the characters that naturally I gravitate towards most. And not to say that the new characters are bad, Tori or Robbie or anyone like that, or Miguel, but they usually do take a back seat when I'm watching the show. I'm just like, oh yeah, they've got some drama going on. But I definitely think the drama around the kids in this show in season 4 was a lot better than it has been before, and some of the arcs of particular characters in those groups, I would say.
Yeah, and I think this is an important thing that I wanna. I'm not. Don't mean to speak for everyone, but I'd imagine a high percentage of people watch this for those original characters from the films that we've seen get older and whatnot. And I love the petty kids dramas, but that's not the core story. The story personally has always been about LaRusso versus Johnny Lawrence. It is that rivalry, and we know at the end of season 3 that the big plot point for this one is that they had to team up. That Cobra Kai kind of teamed up with Miyagi-Do, the impossible made possible, thanks to John Kreese as the villain. And yeah, the kid stuff, because it was, I think it was season two. Sorry, it's a blur to me now, but season 2 ended with the corridor fight, didn't it? At the school.
Yeah, that's right.
And when
Yeah.
you think about the logistics of how insane that truly is, when you get to season 4, it's we were joking before, like, okay, so the Valley karate is like the equivalent of gang crime that we'd have nowadays, isn't it? That
It's pretty much.
you get all these insane stories, and it's always tied back to some karate pass from 30 years ago, and it's so bonkers, but they seem to make a way to get it to work really well. And I'd argue one of the strongest points of season 4 is actually the dramas of the kids, that not that they've taken a firm back seat, but at no point it seemed over the top for a change. I think I can say that we get introduced some new characters as well.
Mhm.
One of which I think is the standout character from the show, and you meet him in a couple episodes into the new series. And I think that's what surprised me. We knew they were juggling so much, Yet they'd come and bring another new person in that you'd get to meet, and they'd get a whole character arc inside 10 episodes. And that's what's amazing with the show. They're juggling, as I said, the parents, the adults, the kids, and even, is it like a meme online, isn't it, that the son who had like one line in season 3, even like he gets to get a bit of screen time this time round. And I think they've found it. And I'll give credit to Netflix that how many big studios take on a TV show and sort of disintegrate it, put their spell on it, tell them what's going to be made. But it seems like Netflix just gave them that creative control, just gave them the extra money to make it possible. And by the time, you get to the tournament that is in the trailer, you can see that, as I said earlier, that budget's gone up, that you're doing a proper tournament now. It's not, mapped in a sound studio. You actually feel like you've gone to a tournament with them, and the whole budget point works. The cast as well, the story arcs are working. And as I said, the key thing you want is that adult rivalry, and they deliver. And even what you said with Terry Silver, the return, as I said, as someone that feels new to the franchise, he was my favorite thing from the third film. And a lot of people online seem to dislike him, and I don't understand why. To some people, it went too far with Karate Kid 3, and I'm just sat there saying, like, he's the best thing about Karate Kid 3, as far as I'm aware.
Oh, absolutely.
And getting him back in this is amazing. And I'm not giving anything away, but he isn't just like popping up to say, hi, I'm Terry Silver, I was a guy 30 years ago. This is a character with a story, with an arc, with projection and alliances, and he's just so good in it. And considering the actor, I think, hasn't acted in almost 20 years, that they had to, because we spoke last year, didn't we, that he hadn't been in something for so long. Everyone thought, could he turn up? And they got him back. We've seen in the trailer, the ponytail goes in. The fact a ponytail is a big selling point, I think, shows how great it is. But I do want to say that Terry Silver's return is handled properly. I think it could have gone wrong if they'd have got his arc wrong. I don't think this season would go wrong. But I think the season works because every character's been handled perfectly. And also seeing him back with Kreese was just great.
Yeah.
Like, you really believe in that not father-son thing, but their weird alliance that obviously in season 3 you had there's a guy with a ponytail that's going to get shot because that's not Terry Silver in the flashbacks. And by the time you get to this, you can see where their friendship was, what it was back then. And even back when you watch Karate Kid 3, you believe that they had a bond between them, the over insane bubble bath, all that kind of stuff. It's everything you want from Terry Silver. And I think that's what satisfied me the most. Someone that's new to it, you get a returning character go wrong, I think it alienates the show, it alienates that classic character, would change concepts of them. But to me, this one didn't. It felt every character, and this is a credit to all 4 seasons in truth, every character's life has progressed in the way you'd expect them to, because they've written it so well, it feels authentic.
Yeah, one of my favorite things about season 3 was the inclusion of the flashbacks for John Kreese's character. In many ways, season 3 was Kreese's series, as far as I'm concerned. And, we got drips and drabs of where that was leading to, the whole stuff in Vietnam and rescuing Terry Silver, which was alluded to in Karate Kid 3. We know that they had like a history together in Vietnam. And one thing that I was really looking forward to was seeing them develop that relationship more, that history between these two characters. And there are more flashbacks in this series going back to those actors that played the younger versions of themselves. So it was nice to get that fleshed out more. I don't know if this is I don't think it is. There's like a throwaway line from Terry Silver's character in this, in obviously sort of modern day, reflecting on how crazy and insane he was in Karate Kid 3. And he gives a reason for that. And the reason is fantastic. And if you go to Karate Kid 3, that actually makes so much sense. So I love how they handled it. They kind of went deeper into the character, but they didn't betray the character. And that's like the biggest thing for me, is that you can, the expectations and everything. When we first meet Terry Silver in this show, he's not the Terry Silver we remember from 30 years ago, right from the off. He's a very different character. He's moved on, and you understand why he's changed. He's living a very different lifestyle. And then over the course of the series, we see him sort of dipping his toe back into the world of Cobra Kai and everything. So that was an absolute joy to watch. Thomas Ian Griffith, I'm sure it's very difficult for an actor who, as you mentioned, has been away from the acting game for so long. And this character who he probably never thought in a million years he'd get to revisit in any way. And, the actor's matured, the character's matured, but it's such a great edge that we see to the character. And it was just fantastic to see him just return to the world of Karate Kid and continue his legacy in that way. But we'll talk about the kids in just a second. I want to kind of cycle it back to sort of the main two of Daniel LaRusso and Johnny. as we mentioned, at the end of season 3, it set up this unlikely alliance between the two where they both had to kind of come together, Miyagi-Do and I guess Eagle Fang at that point,
Yeah.
Eagle Fang Karate. And that was such a really cool moment at the end of season 3. You know, you had the cover of Phil Collins in the Air Tonight playing, they're getting ready. And actually, I would say one of my least favorite things about this, if I was going to pick a negative, is that they do kind of reset the Johnny and Daniel relationship back to that antagonistic back and forth banter between the two. And I thought that was a bit of a shame because I thought, you know, over the course of the 3 series, we'd built up to that point where they were finally going to join forces. And then pretty much from the off in this one, it's that they're already butting heads and they can't work together. And that creates that divide that we've seen already. So it did feel like it was kind of resetting everything back to the status quo. And I thought that was a bit of a shame. I thought that was kind of a step back and I wanted to see that storyline advance a little bit. If I was going to pick a negative, that would probably be one of them for season 4, I think.
No, that's fair. And I think their storyline's a bit not shaking over. Individually, their storylines work. I think that's fair to say by the time you get in. But I think together, the ending setup isn't as well explored as I think because you've got this perfect balance of Kreese calling Silver and Johnny teaming up with LaRusso. I think because they nailed one half of it, the other one I'm kind of fine to let slide because they still give them sufficient arcs. But when the time does come, it's hard to talk about, but I think it works with the context of the show. I think it's maybe season 3's ending maybe forced it more than they probably wanted to because it worked great as a season finale to say, oh, this is what's going to happen next year. But I think it's not delivered on as much. And I wonder if that's when they realized that's how they left season 3. Because one thing I'll actually say is everyone's aged quite a bit in this. Obviously, we know that it's only, I said a year apart airing. But in real life, is it 2 or 3 years since they last filmed? Is when obviously they filmed this over COVID.
It's been a while, hasn't it? Yeah, I think so.
And certainly with the kids, obviously, the age they are, they've all hit puberty and stuff, but some of them are like Miguel
like mid to late 20s playing 16, 17-year-olds or something.
Different hair and everything. I think Stranger Things is going to have something similar when that restarts next year, and it's just the nature of using kid actors. Even Harry Potter had it. I think when you get the jump between 2 and 3, you can see the aging up happening really quickly. But that's something that sometimes threw me out of it, just thinking at some of those kids. But again, Daniel LaRusso, he doesn't age. The fact that we all know is that he's a year younger than Thomas Ian Griffith is quite terrifying, given it's meant to be the whole like mentor. It'd be like finding out, like, imagine if you'd have found out that Luke Skywalker's like a year younger than, I don't know, like Dave Prowse or something that played Darth Vader. Like that would have blown everyone's mind away. But it never was. So no, I think the big, because I was trying to think of a negative of the show. It probably is that setup of season 4, but because it's dispatched off quite quickly, that story arc, I think it's fair to say that everything else then moves on in a much better manner.
And I think it ties in with the arcs of the kids as well. That antagonistic relationship between Daniel and Johnny again plays a massive part in, where a lot of these characters are going into either season 5 or, their character arc, the place that they reach by the end of the series as well. Talking about the kids a little bit more. I mean, I've always liked Tori's character, but I know a lot of people have been really negative about Tori, that she's kind of one note, and they set up this, kind of cat fight, as many chances as they can get between Sam's character and Tori's character. And on the surface, she has been kind of like a 2-dimensional villain in many ways, but I love the stuff that they do with Peyton List in this series with Tori's character. It really feels like they're actually trying to push the character in a new direction a little bit more. I think one of the themes of the show, of this series overall, is breaking the cycle, which I think they mention a bunch of times in the show. This constant hate and, fueling hate. It's almost like a Star Wars thing, isn't it? But, to stop that, you've got to step up and make a change and try your damnedest to make a difference so that the same history doesn't keep repeating itself, kind of thing. It's almost like a Last Jedi type thing, I guess, in that regard. Oh my God, I'm giving a positive to The Last Jedi. This is crazy. What Twilight Zone do I live in? But I really liked that and I appreciated that. And it felt like you're taking that rivalry between a lot of these characters, but it's not repeating the same stuff. It's not regurgitating these rivalries. It's actually saying something about them. And it's allowing these characters to try and break out of that rivalry and become better people. Even from like the villainous side of Cobra Kai, Robbie's character as well goes through a very similar arc as well, where it's almost like he's trying to not be this villainous type character and be something more, which I really appreciated. And I think that's why I found the kids' storyline more compelling than Daniel's and Johnny's this one, because it actually felt like they were making progression. These were different characters to what I'd seen before. Whereas the Daniel and Johnny stuff felt like it was regressing to stuff that I had seen before and I was familiar with. So I don't know. I really like what they did with a lot of the kid characters in this one.
I think about, and I think one of the positives about the original, they all seem better in terms of actors on screen. I think their drama, the acting between one of them seems better. The story arcs are better for them, and I think maybe that gap between seasons has been better for the writing as well. Because we sort of say so much of it feels like the CW, those kind of shows. Like I remember obviously like Flash and Arrow, it was like, oh, like what childish relationship advice are we all struggling with? Meanwhile, Arrow's doing his job as a DC character, and I think this season Cobra Kai is the first time I think they've nailed that aesthetic. And I know that a lot of people give grief as well to LaRusso's daughter, Sam. She does seem better in this. She's better in this season than the other seasons. And I think she's probably the one that's had the most obvious teen love affair drama. And even going back to Robbie, I know they've slowly been changing his haircut over the years. That's also one of the things that changed more. And it just doesn't look as stupid. And it's little things like that. And it's you're getting that whole like teen superstar that all the girls want type of thing. They're drifting away from that. They're getting solid as actors and they're giving them the star acts to go to it. And where it all accumulates at the karate tournament is to the highlight of the show. And that's all I can say until you all get to watch it. I mean, we knew season 3, the All Valley's coming back next year. We knew that's where it's going to head towards. And my word, it heads there properly. And you get a satisfying multiple story arcs all accumulating at this one thing. And I think that's what everybody wanted. You didn't want a reset button halfway through the show to then be like, okay, here's new story arcs here. This feels like it's built up the first three years of storytelling into one, which makes future seasons really exciting. I think I can say where it leaves off, and that's again credit to the writers and the showrunner.
Yeah, I think it's been great as well that we haven't ended every single series on some kind of tournament. You know, we haven't had a proper tournament since the end of season 1. So I think the time was now for another tournament. And, you know, if they ever do get to a season 6, then I'm sure, 6 will cap it all off as well. But I think having that end goal of a tournament, and it's coming, and that's what the characters are pushing towards, and that's what the goal is, I think that helps the flow of the show more. Not to take it away from series 3, because I absolutely loved season 3, but that felt like a little bit meandering in some points. Like it didn't really have like that end goal of like that end point of having some kind of fight or, tournament. Whereas this one, that's going to be towards the end and everything's kind of leading to that course. And, all the characters' relationships are leading to that point as well. I think what I just liked about it really was just the, as the poster suggests, it's almost like good versus evil, it's white versus black kind of thing. And I felt like with season 4, you are seeing some of these characters almost delve into the gray a little bit more and crossing over and, having to work together essentially, either in terms of styles of karate or in terms of just, friendships and unlikely alliances and everything like that. There's a lot of twists in this series. There are some recurring characters, which we can't talk about now, which were great to see as well. And the music as well. The music's always so great. And it almost feels like the soundtrack of this show. You can clearly tell, as I mentioned, the showrunners of this, they love their 80s stuff, not just Karate Kid. Obviously, that goes without saying, but there's loads of references to other popular 80s films out there. There's 80s music in there from bands that I love. Maybe some recurring musical numbers as well that are familiar to the Karate Kid franchise. I'll just say that. It all feels like an absolute love letter, but it doesn't feel like it's going out of its way with fan service. And that's what I've loved about all 4 seasons so far, is that, there are some moments, in season 1, you had that moment with Daniel where he does the whole magic touch thing that Miyagi does. And some of those moments go a little bit too far, but it feels restrained. It feels like, the love's there for the franchise, but it is developing and evolving these characters in a believable, intriguing way that I absolutely love. So, with season 5 coming out, I'm like, oh Christ, we're at season 5 of a show. This is where it's going to go downhill. We've had 4 solid seasons so far with exactly the same showrunners. So where this ends, it's got me very intrigued as to what's going to happen with season 5. And the bad thing is about getting early screeners for this thing is that I have to wait extra long for the next series to come out. So it feels like now my watch begins. What am I going to do for a year? What TV shows do I have to look forward to in between until I get to more Cobra Kai? Because this was just an absolute blast going to season 4.
No, absolutely. And I really want to bring up Cobra Kai. Is there anything you can reveal about Miguel? I can reveal he's in it.
He's in the show.
I'm,
Yeah, he's in.
he's got a new haircut. I can't reveal anything more than that. We don't want
There's
to
some
spoil people at
emotional
home.
beats with his character. I'll just say that there are some
Yeah,
genuinely almost tearjerker scenes with his character. I will say that it's yeah.
I think he's got a better arc than season 3. Because one thing I'll say about season 3 was it was all very quick.
Yeah.
They are. Oh, look, coma, disabled. Yeah, he can walk again. It's a miracle. Was a bit soon. I get why it was done quickly. It's a TV show. He's the main character, but I think he's got a better arc in season 4 than season 3. I'm willing to drop that online. And
Yeah.
again, like many of the characters, there's season 5 potential. Very curious about where a lot of these characters are going to go, and he is one of those. So if you're a big fan of Miguel, don't worry, you're not going to get disappointed. Red Panda. How would you describe Kreese and Silver's relationship? Like the Emperor and Darth Vader, I guess you could say. That's the comparison I'm going to go with. It's what you want from them. You don't get too much of them. You don't get too little of them. You get the perfect amount. And if you're a fan of both, you're going to be in for a treat. And I would say a lot more story than I thought you would get between them. I think I can say that. So don't worry. Again, he's not coming in to do some high kicks, laugh, and run away. He is coming in with story purpose.
I'd have been fine with that too, in all honesty, even if he did. But yeah, no, they do some stuff. When it comes to
we don't get Kreese's meme face. I will say we don't get the classic meme face from Kreese.
But I would say obviously we can't go in depth, but there is a rivalry there. It's not all happy families. There is sort of like a battle of dominance. I will say that when it comes to Kreese and Silver. So I think that's absolutely probably the highlight of the show for me, was seeing those two actors together again and how that relationship developed, for sure.
Yeah. One last quick. Did Kenny and Hawk have a rivalry? I'm not going to say anything about Hawk's character arc. I think my negative, he is potentially the character that is slightly underused. Slightly.
They do some things with his character though that are pretty cool. But yeah, I can understand.
I think he's peaked. I know that Andrew Garfield's a massive fan of Hawk. So if Andrew Garfield's watching this for Cobra Kai spoilers, Andrew Garfield's not going to get any, but come on and talk about Spider-Man. We'd love to get you on because he's a massive Cobra Kai fan. Do you know what's actually quite amazing? Again, it's all new to it. Celebrities love this show. Fans love this show. And it's brought in new fans. It's brought back older fans. It is quite. Netflix have got the power to push this next level. And is there a season 5 fan? Maybe, but I think if I'm going to be honest, Chris, I know I've never said this before. They should just go all out 6 seasons in a movie. They should rightfully finish the Karate Kid saga the way it's.
They're doing a Community. Was that the whole hashtag?
They
six seasons in a movie.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? But Peaky Blinders is doing it now, 6 seasons and then a movie to end it with. Is Cobra Kai as big as Peaky Blinders? Netflix could really try if they really wanted to make it that big. So that's everything I'm going to say on Cobra Kai. I don't know if you're missing anything. Listen, guys, we're going to be back on Friday with a spoiler one because we know we can't talk about things until then.
So much we have to talk about. So much. We mentioned the new character as well. The new character of Kenny is genuinely probably one of the highlights of the show. Fantastic. It felt very weird to sort of, we get to season 4 and this new character's introduced and it's like, what's going on here? We haven't seen this character, but by the end of the season, it's probably easily one of the most compelling character arcs of the entire season, as far as I'm concerned. So, 4 seasons in and Cobra Kai still surprising us. So I guess that's where we'll leave it now. Obviously, as you mentioned, we're going to talk about loads more in depth when we come to it. But until then, at least for seasons 1 to 3 and your hopes for season 4, let us know what you think of Cobra Kai. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. We love talking Cobra Kai, and we can't wait to talk about it more in that spoiler review. Hopefully, you've all got a chance to watch it or binge it. Whatever you do, devote a day to Cobra Kai because I think season 4 is absolutely deserving. So, Red Panda says he's looking forward to the new season as well. So, if we've convinced some people to watch season 4, you all going to do that anyway. Then all the better for it. But I think we've got, we're coming towards the end of 2021 now, and what a way to end it with some Cobra Kai. I don't know do we have anything else upcoming on the channel before we get into 2022?
We'll just plug the spoiler discussion once more. That'll be up at some point this Friday, 31st December. No idea if it'll be live, if it will be pre-recorded. We'll let you know. Best way is always to find out about stuff like that is getting some social media, Twitter, Cinema Savvy, Facebook and letterboxd.com/Cinema Savvy. Tomorrow, starting up, we have the Book of Boba Fett spoiler discussions. There'll be 10 p.m. GMT. Gives us a day to watch it, gives you guys a day to watch it, repeat viewings, whatever. Like The Mandalorian, we'll be there weekly covering those. Obviously, we've done that for a few of the Marvel shows too recently. And Chris, we have a final review for a big trilogy, don't we, as well?
Yeah, we do. So coming Thursday the 30th, it's going to be pre-recorded the day before on the 29th, but you can expect to see it on the 30th. The Return of the King, completing the Lord of the Rings trilogy. It's been so great talking about that trilogy. I'm going to be on with Harry again for that one. And Two Towers was 2.5 hours. And this is the big finale. So Christ knows how long we're going to be talking about this. And the sad thing is as well, each one that we've talked about, we know that we could have talked for hours more on it. So we are going to try and keep it to a certain length, but the Return of the King, you know, it needs no introduction. So that'll be closing out the Lord of the Rings series of reviews. We might be talking more about Lord of the Rings and a few other videos coming up in the not too distant future as well. So if you like your Tolkien stuff, definitely check that out on Thursday. Before we round off, I just want to bring up a comment here. It's been a while, but we've had a comment from Janaya. I know she's been on a lot of our older videos. Thanks for the early review. I rarely make it to your guys' live because of my work schedule and the time difference, but glad to hear that the show is still good. Yeah, that's the biggest thing for me is that, you know, season 4, it's still going strong. But yeah, I guess this will do it for our spoiler-free review, and we'll see you on that spoiler one. It's going to be amazing. Have we gone over socials? Have we done socials?
All sorted. All sorted.
All sorted.
Let's everyone follow us on there. Hit the alarm button. You'll get the beep when we go live if you don't have social media.
Excellent. Thank you very, very much, everyone, for watching, commenting along, and we'll see you guys on the next video. Take care, everyone.